Hey, everybody. We are continuing in our series about how faith is more important than looks through the book of 1 Samuel. And this week, we are talking about confusion and trusting God. Let me explain. When I was, actually, I don't remember exactly how old I was, probably around 6, 7 years old. I learned how to swim. I took swimming instructions. I went to a school and got in a pool with an instructor, a teacher, and this teacher taught me how to swim. Now, the first time that I went out into the deep end of the pool, and tried to work on what I had been taught, moving my arms, kicking my legs, I panicked and I started to sink, and I was confused and I was afraid and I was scared and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't remember what I was supposed to do or how I was supposed to move my arms. I was confused. But you know who wasn't confused? My teacher, my swim instructor. They knew how to swim. They weren't having any problems, and they came right over and they grabbed me and they brought me back over to the side of the pool, and I was just fine. Now, it would have been a real problem if I had said to the swim instructor, "Get away from me, you don't know what you're doing." And I would have sunk, if that's a word. I would have sunk because I wasn't trusting the swim instructor. Now, we sometimes can do that with God. We can be confused and push God away. But here's what I want to say this week. Confused? Are you confused? God's not. Trust him. Confused? God's not. Trust him. God is always in control. He has a plan. We can trust him, even if we feel confused. In 1 Samuel chapter 9, there's a guy named Saul. And Saul is looking for donkeys. He is a guy whose dad has lost his donkeys, and Saul is going around looking for the donkeys. And he cannot find them for the life of him. He's looking here, he's looking there, he can't find them. And he gives up. He's confused. He doesn't know where they are. And the guy he's with tells him, there's a prophet nearby. We should go ask the prophet where the donkeys are. And Saul says, "Oh, okay, fine." And they go looking for the prophet, and they can't find the prophet. And so they're confused again. And they eventually find the prophet. And guess who the prophet is? It's Samuel. Samuel is the main character of the book so far. And Samuel tells Saul that Saul is going to be king of Israel. What the heck? Saul is this random guy who's looking for his donkeys. He's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. And now he's going to be king of Israel? You see, the point here is that Saul was confused, but God had a plan for him. And as long as he trusted God and his plan, everything was going to be taken care of. Saul trusts in God and what Samuel says, and they find his donkeys, and everything turns out fine. And Saul becomes, in the next chapter, king of Israel. So he was confused, but he trusted God. So everything was taken care of. So in the same way that Saul trusted God, even while he was confused, when we're confused or we don't feel like we understand what's going on, or, as long as we trust God, we're going to be okay. So confused, God's not. He's not confused. Trust him. And Satan wants to confuse us all the time. But what God does is he brings truth. He brings clarity. He brings a clear path. And when God sent his son, Jesus, to die on a cross for us, that was his way of saying, don't be confused. I love you. And through faith in my son, you are forgiven, you are righteous, you have eternal life. Don't be confused. Trust me. So that's the invitation this week. Trust God, trust his son, Jesus. And it doesn't matter if you don't understand some things, God has it under control. We can trust him. God bless y'all. Have a great week.